I'm back on the jack, yo. Check out this guy. Best intro ever. One more time. That's actually what's at the beginning of your video, Ben. You uploaded it like that. Your video is called Why Everyone Should Be a Feminist. And the first thing we see is this. If you did that on purpose, that's fucking genius. But I really don't think you did that on purpose. I think you just fucked up the edit and didn't even bother checking it. This is why so many people don't like feminism, Ben. It's not because anti-feminists are against equality. It's because every single pro-feminist is a profound, transcendent simpleton. See, one thing on which the jury is still very much out is, are morons attracted to feminism, or does feminism turn people into morons? Or both. Personally, I think it's, a bit of both. It attracts morons and turns them into gigantic morons. As Socrates discovered, the truly earth-shatteringly stupid people are not the ignorant and uneducated, but the misinformed and dogmatic. The people who are sure they have the right answers. See, the sort of mute stable boy from the Dark Ages is at least ready to learn, to fill his empty head with sparkly new information. But the princes and princesses who were raised by traditionalist sensibilities of books and cultural consensus, they no longer even have the potential for objective wisdom. For all the chance they will change their minds, their brains might as well have been replaced with ripe honeydew watermelons. Ben, ripe. You see, it takes a special kind of someone to even be able to say why everyone should be a somethingist. See, I've never been able to think of an ism that I believe everyone should be. Politically, there are biological isms, obviously, that we're all subject to omnivorism and diurnalism and sexual dimorphism. But these aren't things we necessarily choose. I would never say there is a political system to which everyone should choose to subscribe. There are some things I think everyone should try at least once, like food and fun and friendship. Perhaps you could extend that list to a few other F words, if you like, but none ending in ism. Ben, when someone says to me, I am a Marxist, I think, okay, that's interesting, let's discuss Marxism or something. But when someone says to me, everyone should be a Marxist, then I am going to wave goodbye and swim casually away from the deep end, from which you have very clearly fallen off. We are 4 seconds into your video, Ben. You haven't said a word yet, and you've already proved yourself to be both incompetent and insane.
Too many people are scared of feminism.
No, yeah, that's a perfectly arguable point, Ben. Well done. People don't want to speak out against feminism for the same reason they don't want to speak out against Islam. They're both very fucking scary. Both ideologies are known for having many proponents who openly believe everyone should subscribe to their ideology. They actively seek a world in which everyone subscribes to their ideology. And they will pull all manner of duplicitous tricks to silence any dissent against their unwavering megalomania. That's how they managed to amass at least a cool billion people each. It's the ruthless religions that survive, I'm afraid. It's just a fact of life. You might say this is the final battle between communism and Islam that was famously predicted by Lenin. But the irony is, it looks remarkably like communism, manifested as it is in feminism, is ultimately compatible with Islam. They both insist they live under the thumb of an all-powerful, incorporeal, imaginary Big Brother. And they demand women be treated as a monolithic victim class and men as a monolithic perpetrator class. It's very possible that feminism is a sort of precursor to radical gender segregation. It's an empire-wide boom phase that is inevitably followed by an empire-wide recession. And one day, this is all going to crash and burn, and like the Ottoman Empire, we'll go from belly dancers to burqas in a fairly short and historically murky space of time. But the solution, Ben, as you say, is not to be afraid. When these people threaten to murder you, while simultaneously accusing you of threatening to murder them, you have to be able to stare that pure evil in the face and say, "Fuck you, I am free. And you have no power over me."
And by people, I mean men.
That's a very good start. Believe me, that statement alone puts you head and shoulders above most feminists. Correct. Men are people, and men's rights are human rights, so you're doing much better than I expected.
Now, I don't mean that we're scared of feminism's aims.
It doesn't have any aims, Ben. Other than self-replication. Everything else is chaos. That's how memes work. Just like a gene, a meme will, if given the chance, expand to replace every atom in the universe with itself. They don't care, Ben. They're just programs. It's up to us to care.
I mean that we're too scared, even if we're supporters, to nail our colours to the mast and say, yes, I'm a feminist.
No, we're not, Ben. No one will beat you up for being a feminist. No one will reject your job application because you're a feminist. No one will refuse to elect you into public office because you're a feminist. On the contrary, then people are scared of saying, "I'm not a feminist." As some of us have experienced, you can and will be ejected from a public place by threat of violence for basically not being a feminist. Most feminists have been meticulously trained such that when they hear the declaration, "I am not a feminist," their brain re-renders it as "I am a misogynist." And that will get you beaten up, Ben. It will threaten your job prospects. When people live under mob rule, they are not scared of saying "I love the mob." They are scared of the fucking mob! And when you make videos like this, saying "don't be scared of the mob," it just makes it even scarier, Ben. And when you say everyone should join the mob, you make it clear that you really don't understand economics. But come to think of it, it does rather explain how someone could believe in feminism and anarchism at the same time. as any chaotician will tell you, the zombie apocalypse simply finds a way.
Because whether it's seen as a woman's issue or it makes you less of a man.
It makes you less of a wereman. Or a wereman. I believe it would have been pronounced wereman back in the day. This is how everyone talked back in the day. Shakespeare talked like this. Not a lot of people know that. But, yeah, it helps in the pronunciation of wereman, because otherwise it sounds like I'm saying wereman, you know. But that's how I'll pronounce it for now. It makes you less of a wereman, Ben. Do you know what a wereman is? No, you don't, do you, Ben? Because you're already less than one.
It can be a really, really difficult topic to approach.
Yes. Alison did it. Tilda did it. It's my turn to do it. It's a dark, telltale secret of our linguistic evolution. Once upon a time, wereman meant male adult. Whiffman meant female adult. And man simply meant adult of any gender. The masculine was its own kind of man. The feminine was its own kind of man. But we collectively decided as an empire that masculine is not its own kind of man. It's a blank human. It's like a womb man, but without the womb. Because after all, he's just a man. Also, once upon a similar time, the word girl simply meant child of any gender. And the word boy specifically meant slave. While we were collectively deciding that male adults don't get an identity, we also collectively decided to treat adult women like children and male children like slaves. This is indeed a very difficult topic for feminists to approach. Because as far as feminists are concerned, every human process and every historical event ever is to be defined as the oppression and subjugation of women by men. As such, that is the predetermined conclusion around which they cherry-pick all available evidence. And when they look at this great gendered noun shift of ours, of turning females into children who only graduate to become self-actualized children, and turning males into slaves who graduate to nothing, when feminists discover this, they try to interpret it as men systematically oppressing women, and they can't do it! They just spiral into oblivion every time. The great gendered noun shift only makes sense if you interpret the last 2 millennia, at least, of our history as the polar opposite of what feminists claim it to be. So that excuse you keep using every time women get yet another insane governmental entitlement at men's expense, and you say, well, you give them that. I mean, considering they've been subjugated for centuries, it won't fly, Ben. They haven't been subjugated at all. They've been treated like the fucking nobility. for the whole fucking time, Ben. So, even if the excuse, my great-grandmother was oppressed by your great-grandfather, so I get to oppress you, even if that excuse was anything but wrong-headed evil in the first place, if it turns out my great-grandfather didn't oppress your great-grandmother at fucking all, then you are oppressing me because of wrong-headed evil based on a lie. And that, sir, or indeed madam, in terms of evil, is an abyss within an abyss. And you, every time you say that, may, kindly if you please, fuck off.
We're trying to talk about gender discrimination when it doesn't really affect us.
This is exactly what I bought all the honey jack for, Ben. Ben, it affects you deeply. Deeply, Ben, deeply. It makes you think you're not being affected when you are. It makes you think other people are affected when they're not. That picture you just showed says it all. Men are governmentally forced to earn money and give it to women for nothing. Okay? Now you can look at the glaring fact that women are given men's money without earning it, and you probably think that's discrimination against women. Because women don't earn as much money as men through hard work and whatnot. See, women routinely, governmentally, steal money from men. And you think that's men oppressing women? What? See, babies, right? Babies earn 0 cents to every dollar earned by a man. But you do not see that as men oppressing babies, okay? Because you understand that government forces men to pay for the upkeep of babies. Well, the government also forces men to pay for the upkeep of women. Because, to remind you, we collectively elected some time ago to treat females like children. And to treat males like slaves with no future. And you think, Ben, that this doesn't affect you. That is by far the most dangerous kind of disease. The silent killer. See, the rabies virus is completely harmless and easily curable for up to months during its incubation period. But once it sets in, Ben, it is 100% fatal as far as we know. And it's fucking horrible.
So very often it's just easier to avoid completely.
Excellent advice. This is going swimmingly, actually. Once you break it into tiny chunks and dissolve it. That's why I'm here, Ben. I am a solvent. I'm acerbic.
But we shouldn't be afraid to openly identify as feminists.
Should you be afraid to identify as a men's rights advocate? I mean, not just would you in estimation, but should you in principle be afraid to identify as a men's rights advocate? I don't expect you to have an answer to this, Ben. I've spoken to some devilishly clever people, and none of them have quite found a satisfactory answer yet. But given, as we've just established, that men essentially means all adult humans, the question, should you call yourself a men's rights advocate, might well be the most important question this species has ever asked itself. It might be the question that, if answered correctly, shepherds us through to the legendary echelons of the Drake equation. It's an intelligent species that doesn't go fucking insane and destroy its planet just because of a silly little fucking social virus. As for the question, should you be afraid to identify as a feminist? No, Ben, you shouldn't. You should be fucking ashamed.
Yeah, feminism means different things to different people.
Indeed. So much so that it's impossible to say whether the beliefs we hold are feminist or not.
But if you think about it, most of us probably have a lot of feminist views anyway.
For most of this rant, Ben, I'm suspected that I might be going a bit too deep for you. I kind of suspected it for the moment I saw you, to be honest. You look and sound like you belong in a soap opera for special children. But I gave you the benefit of the doubt, and I started talking about some quite surprising things, didn't I, Ben? I'm mainly just using you as a conduit for the sake of these thousands of people. But part of me held out some hope that you're smarter than you look. And that you're following what I'm saying. But those hopes of mine just took quite the swan dive just now, Ben, because you just said something quite remarkably stupid. We don't know what feminism is. ... You're a feminist. What I mean by the ... there is, in between those two statements, Ben, was an absolutely terrible place to put a when you think about it. Because what belongs there is a when you completely fail to think about it.
If you believe in equal pay for equal work,
then you're an economic egalitarian, I suppose. But if you believe in giving women more money for the same work because lies, then
you're a feminist.
High five!
If you think skill trumps gender and the best person for the job should get the job,
then you're a meritocrat. However, Ben, if you believe in quotas and giving the job to a woman because vagina,
that's feminism.
Side on, Ben! Fucking side me on! Side me the fuck on! We are owning this shit!
If you'd rather be judged by your talents and not your looks,
then it's quite possible that you're talented. But On the other hand, if your only talent is being a fucking woman,
you're a feminist.
Down below, too slow.
If you think women should have access to affordable birth control.
Okay, you're pissing me off now, dude. Women already have access to free birth control. If your issue is giving affordable birth control to people who don't have it, then might I venture to endeavour to remind you of the existence of men?
If you think laws should change as society changes.
What?
If you think laws should change as society changes.
But look, for those of you who don't speak Narn, what he's saying is, if you think laws should change as society changes. And yeah, that's not feminism, Ben. That's common fucking sense. Oh, God. Muslims, okay, do this as well. You use common sense. Oh, that's Allah. And it's fucking terrifying, Ben. It makes it starkly obvious that you have been stolen by a virus. Okay, maybe I was stolen by a virus called common sense, alright? You done me. You done me there. Okay, or whatever.
And if you wouldn't want someone to tell you what you can or can't do with your own body, you're a feminist.
Ben, mate! And this is just one example. Mayhaps! Have you caught wind of the Yes Means Yes campaign? It started in California University and has already begun to spread to wherever there are feminists. It is the assertion, by legal mandate, on pain of rape charges, that during any sexual encounter, every single bodily interaction and every separate tactile motion must be preceded with an "is this okay?" or a "can I touch you there?" Even if you are already deep in the throes of like guerrilla jackhammer sex, bent over the barbecue and scaring the horses. If during the process of this bone-rattling cunt-quake you happen to gently brush her hair away from her eyes, then if you didn't ask her permission to touch her hair, then at that exact moment, Ben, you have committed rape! I'm not joking, Ben. I'm being hilarious and incredibly sexy. But I am not joking about this. This is what feminists want. To be able to charge you with rape if you fail to get ongoing verbal consent before every single motion in a sexual encounter. George fucking Orwell could not have envisioned this nightmare if I gave him 2 kilograms of psilocybin mushrooms and dengue fever. But it is actually fucking happening, Ben, in real life. Because of feminism. Now, if it goes well, then feminists will of course say, yeah, we did that. Go feminism. But if it goes appallingly, and it will, because it's fucking insane, then feminists will say, what? We didn't do that shit. We didn't do that insane thing. It was the patriarchy. It's what feminists do, Ben. It's all they've done for a fucking century. And whatever precursor there was to feminism, it's all they did for at least 2,000 years. That is why women's contributions appear to have been erased from history. Because, for whatever reason, women have been erasing their own mistakes. And, to use a perhaps inappropriate analogy, when you erase your own mistakes, you very much throw the baby out with the bathwater. And this is why we need men's rights. Because when men have rights, women have responsibilities. And when women have responsibilities and accountability, they do quite amazing things. But when they don't, they do shit. That's important to take into account too.
If you wouldn't want to be pressured into settling down and having kids in your late teens or your early 20s.
Who does that, Ben? Who applies that pressure? Other than your mother? Other than everyone's mother. You know, this is a total aside, but I don't think it's a coincidence, right? How many feminist women hate their mothers. Or at least have very dysfunctional relationships with their mothers. They sort of need to find an ideological way to forgive women for everything and blame men for everything. Otherwise, they'd realise that their mother is to blame for everything. And that this is the case all over the world.
Or if it would offend you to be given or not given a job based on your gender, well, this makes you a feminist.
Dude, I already covered this. Look, just like safe space is the feminist word for apartheid, quota is the feminist word for nepotism. If you are a woman, you do not need to find a job for which you are the most qualified candidate. You need only find a workplace that has not yet met its gender quota. And you will get the job because you are a woman. The reason this is so is because feminists made it so. And they continue to insist that it is made so. I mean, Ben, you are being the opposite of the truth. Is my fundamental issue. You are quite free to be the opposite of the truth, if you like, but I reserve the right, Ben, to rebut you.
And if you think that your daughters should have exactly the same rights as your sons, well, isn't that feminism?
Okay, well, that would mean not giving your daughter the right to her labia. Look, I know it's a bit perturbing and morose that I bring up circumcision in every other fucking video, but you keep forcing my fucking hand. Feminism is doing nothing. Jack shit nothing, Ben, to give your male children their right to bodily autonomy. The only people doing that are men's rights advocates. Very much by definition. If feminists were interested in these rights, they would be receptive of men's rights advocates. If you would like to know how receptive feminists are to men's rights advocates, I suggest you explore my channel. You won't need to go far to discover that feminists, for the most part, think men's rights are the fucking devil. And now might be a good time to remind you, Ben, that you are a man.
The point is that feminism isn't bad.
I'm so sorry, Ben. I think this might be another case of McMurphy's Law.
It's not about gender bashing. It isn't exclusive to women. And it doesn't deprive men.
All of the things you just said are lies and other twisted contentions that themselves deprive men of the equal or often more urgent attention they need. You said these things because of feminism. Evidently. You can't just turn up at the end and say, oh, by the way, I'm not doing that. Yes, you are, Ben. I do not accept your self-contradictions. I'm really glad this is just a 2-minute video, because I'm already really fucking tired and very, very drunk.
We shouldn't be afraid to be feminist flag bearers.
I don't have a flag. And I don't have a tattoo. I think laws should change as society changes.
Because if you thought about it in terms of our views and not our actions, most of us would be feminists anyway.
If men could think of things in terms of their views instead of their actions, then feminism wouldn't exist. And men's rights advocates would.
We're just too scared to admit it.
See you later, Ben. You know, sometimes I worry that I always sort of punching down, always responding to stupid people. Incidentally, if anyone could find me a feminist who doesn't qualify as a stupid person, best of luck. But in any case, I'm beginning to think, like, the more stupid the person is, the more profound I'm able to make my responses. Like, because you're filling a bigger hole. Like, if all you need is a filling, then all you need is a standardized sort of pellet of metal. But if you need an inlay to replace the best part of an entire tooth, you need to take a mold of the hole you just drilled in the tooth. And what the hell do you have to do to pull off an extraction? I've just got things on my mind, folks. Luckily, I also have Honey Jack. Goodbye, and good fuck.